Grand Ascension, what's going on, family? It's me, Nisi Denise, back to do another video. This time, not talking about fiber arts or crochet. We're going to deep dive into conspiracy theories. We're going to talk about the current events and the reset and the pyramid reset wars. All right. So if you've been following me for the past couple years, then you know we've moved exponentially towards the disclosure. Okay. And pretty much the stuff that I post, it is controversial. As you guys know, I have a couple of different social media pages. This is actually my craft page, but I'm going to broadcast this out to all my other pages, especially over on YouTube when I get done. But I have fiber arts, I have the family, and then I have the quote unquote conspiracy or things that you need to pay attention to page. All right. So the last couple of times that I did the reading over Taylor Durden stuff, Fiat People and Reset Wars, we stopped. I'm going to recap a couple things because I need to drive this timeline home with you all and have you all to understand a few things. One, we're not the only species that's ever been created. Okay. Don't care how you feel. You want to go with the religious dichotomy and say there's angels, there's demons, there's whatever. Fine. But we're not the only beings on this plane of existence in this realm. There are other things that walk among us too. You have to understand that. Off the bat, this is a contained or closed system. Based on the last reset, they had restructured this thing really well to where they have bloodline families that are appointed over certain things, right? Military, medical, pharmaceutical, education, everything. They've got them systematically placed out on a board, and it's beautiful the way they have this stuff mapped out. I'm not a fan of these parasites, but I'm going to tell you, they had help with non-human entities. Okay. And so we're getting ready to get into this. So you have to understand that. All right. So not going to say it's red pill or blue pill, but I'm just giving you the gist of it. All right. Now I'm going to hold up a couple of books really quick before we get started. I'm reading from Taylor Durden's book. This one right here. You can get this over on Amazon. I reshare all of his videos. He has a Patreon page. Go out there and support him. He's on YouTube, Instagram. I think they took his TikTok down again, but this is him. His name is Taylor Durden, and you can find him as Taylor, T-A-O, Lore, L-O-R-E. All right. Hold this up. Claudio Naselli. I've read to you guys all of his books. Okay. He has another one that's out that I'm going to order. It's a hardback. This one is the Book of Enoch, Terra Infinita. I also read to you on video the Book of Enoch, a certain portion of it. All right. Guy Anderson, shouting him out. Conspiracy theories. He has 3 books out: Tessa and the Cabbage Patch Babies, or Tessa and the Cabbage Patch Kids, and the Cabbage Patch Babies, and then this one. All right. So he has a Facebook group. Also, he's a friend of mine over here on Facebook on this page, or on Nisi Slaughter Eaglin's page. Highly recommend you go subscribe to his YouTube group, his Facebook group, and his YouTube page, and then purchase his books and sit down and read it. Next up, this is from Mr. Jordan Maxwell. This was one of his. This is by Ralph Epperson, The Unseen Hand, the introduction of the conspiratorial view of history. All right. Another good book. I would tell you to go grab this one. All right. I'm dropping tea now. I'm dropping knowledge. Next up, Bloodline of the Gods. This one. Yep. Definitely got to get this one. All right. And then I'm going to drop one more off on you. Alien World Order, The Reptilian Plan to Divide and Conquer the Human Race by Lynn Caston. And I have marked this bad boy up. All right. I'm just going to tell you. Now, Claudio Naselli, I'm going to be reading from this because I'm going to point some things out for the timeline. This is a 1729 reset. Shout out to my big brother, Jamil Shamshi Dean. There's so many other people that I could hold up and show you guys books. I'm trying to break y'all off slow. I'm trying to take you slow, but we're going to have to just deep dive. You don't have to jump in the deep end. I'm just sorry. You got to jump into the deep end with me, you guys. Guy Anderson, excellent work. Jamil Shamshi Dean, excellent work. Rodney Carroll, excellent work. I still have to get with him. Dane Calloway, Kimura Owa dropped 432. Man, there's so many people out there doing good work. I'm just telling you, when you hone into this stuff, you really got to be laser focused on what you're looking at. All right. And not everybody's going to have the same interpretation as I do. Right. I'm just giving you my hypothesis based on my understanding from fasting, meditation, breath work, and just laying the puzzle pieces and asking the creator of all to show me what it is I'm supposed to see. Not saying I know everything, but I'm excited because the history that they've given us is bullshit. It's much more diverse and much more colorful. And we've been influenced from the very beginning by non-human entities. And you just got to understand that. There are people that work behind the groups in the shadows, underground, directly below our feet. And there are people that work beyond the ice walls. There are people that work within this closed system that know what's going on. All right. And they monitor these platforms. So shout out to those people. But I'm just going to say this for the Zios, y'all days are numbered too. All right. That's all I'm going to say. We have a narrative that's being pushed in the known lands. And if they can keep us divided, they're going to continue to do what they're doing. We're not the only cell matrix that's going through this reset and having these problems that we're being affected by these negative forces. Okay. That's what I'm telling you. As well as what happens here in this dome, it reflects what the other domes around us. Okay. The other worlds around us. They're going through something similar. All right. And as I've said before in my videos, at least 80% of our matrix, you want to call it a solar system? Okay, fine. Call it a solar system. I say cellular membrane because I understand the planes of existence are not what we've been taught by NASA in the educational system. Okay. But my point is we're all going through something and we're all being impacted by this negative entity, this great evil, this oppression that's upon us. Okay. So let's get into Fiat People and Reset Wars. I'm going to walk it back and we're going to go through these resets again because I need for you guys to understand that Dr. Robert Schoch, Graham Hickok, Volkanovsky, Antonio Fomenko. Oh my God, there's like 6 or 7 people that I can rack off the top of my head that have all talked about the timeline being distorted and that the history that they've given us is not the accurate truth. Okay. And the thing is, those people who were here at that time, they're now deceased. They've transitioned on. Very few people know the actual true history. I can tell you that the Jesuit order, which is the Roman Catholic Church, knows the history, as well as the entities that live underground, where they're building these data centers on top of out amongst the counties and out past the cities to funnel the water in for those cities and also to build a control hierarchy or matrix or bridge. So everything, look at it as though a spider web. Everything's layered on top of us, an energy grid. So they're putting these data centers in certain key points on ley lines and to harvest the water and to shoot it underground for the cities that are underground and to control the surface with the flock cameras and all the other things that are going on, right? I mean, it's an intricately done web, and I have to shout these bastards out because, man, I'm telling you, they are on point with their shit. And the majority of people don't even get it. They don't even understand what I'm saying. They just don't. They're just going about their usual day, dumb. And then when things break off, they're going to be like, oh, so-and-so is going to save me. This is going to say, no, you have to save yourself. Christ is a template. It's a blueprint of what you have inside of you. Yes, there was a person by the name of Joshua or Yeshua, but they utilized this person and built this narrative behind this person and created this grand matriarch or patriarch and created something and did something with this gentleman that his life was so completely different than what people think. I mean, if you study the life and times, he was married. He had children. And they don't teach you that. They do not teach you that Christ was married and Christ had a wife and Christ, Joshua. I mean, he did. I mean, there's a bloodline of his that's in this plane of existence. But, when you say that in church, people look at you sideways like you got 4 heads. Just got to study. Now, back to what I was saying. When we talk about the things that have happened over the course of history, what you need to understand, the base thing I want to drive home to you is that the original root race, Hyperboreans, super, super dark. Hyperboreans, melanated, dark, 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 blue, black. Hyperboreans were at the top of the beginning of it. All right. When I say that, they were the perfect combination of technology, spirituality, connection with source, and then comes in the negative faction. And that's what starts the disruption. And then you have all these cycles. There were pyramid wars. There were different alien races. When I say alien, I mean they're coming from beyond another plane of existence. They're not here in this land where we are now. They came here, but they were alien to this world, as the Hyperboreans were. They were natural beings that manifested, yes, created by the five masters, right? But you have to understand they were the closest point to technology and spirituality. The second biggest one, because we're the seventh humanity. We're the seventh generation. All right. The generation before us, which would have been Tartaria, they were almost at that point where Hyperborea was. Okay. They had access to technology, free energy, health. They were on the spiritual plane. They did not eat like we do now. Yeah, they did have food and things like that, but they were on a higher plane of understanding or existing, right? They lived differently than what we do now. That's why I tell you, the things that we're doing right now, that we're going through day to day, where our lives were never supposed to be like this. Okay. And we're being controlled by these entities. And that's what I want to drive home to you guys. So let's go back through this reset again one more time. All right. And then we're going to pick it up. So what you need to understand is Hyperborea is the foundation. Okay. And they were the closest as far as the bloodline, or not the bloodline, but they were closest as in divinity with source and technology and having the oneness, right? And then here comes in these other alien factions and races, and this is where the wars start, all right? Because you have to understand, a whole cell matrix or planet was blown up with these people, okay? And then they settled here along with the Hyperboreans, and you had other factions, you had the Lyrians, you had different races that were here along with the negative Draco, Edmonds of Draco. Okay. They were here too, and they felt like this is their plane of existence because they were here first, irregardless of whether the Hyperboreans were here or not. They felt like this is their home and this is their territory. Okay. So they're the ones that's running the show along with other entities. Okay. So when we talk about the biblical narrative, we're going to go through this. The firstborn son of Adam and Eve is Cain, who kills their youngest son, Abel. And other texts claim that Cain is from the fallen line of Samael, yeah, who is often referred to as Lucifer interchangeably. That's another extraterrestrial or interdimensional. You want to call them angels? I'm telling you, they're beings just like you and I. They look a little different, but they're beings, okay? We've been taught in this religious dichotomy to hold them at a higher level when we're all actually equal in the creator of all. They won't see it that way. Some of them don't see it that way. Some of them consider us to be food or chickens, knockoffs, but we possess the divine spark. And this is where you have to understand, you have to stop giving your power away. All right. We are very wonderfully and beautifully created. We are the organic version of the creator of all, made through the five masters. All right. I'm not going to get too deep. All right. So when we talk about this line or lineage, this is where you have the intermixing of the bloodline of Nephilim. All right. Cain's descendant, Tubal-Cain, is the father of Freemasonry. He is considered the original blacksmith and bearer of higher knowledge like Lucifer. In many interpretations, his name literally means smith. All right. Cain as a name has many interpretations as far as its meaning. It is said to mean acquire or buy, spear, bearer, or political leader, depending on the context of its usage. Tubal-Cain can translate to the global smith or world spirit or world government, kicked off by an entity or lineage. All right. So when you're talking about the devil, you got to understand you're talking about different races that are on the same plane or thought process that work together for not the betterment of mankind. I'm just going to put it that way. They have their shit so organized that this is a game to them because these beings live a long time. I'm just telling you. So then you got that specific order. All right. And then it talks about essentially the essence of this entity or this clan of beings is that they're acquiring world dominance through war. Okay. Warlike beings. They are warlike species. All right. You have the different classes of reptilians that, longer the tail, the taller they are. Some of them are 22 feet. Those are royal class reptilians. And then you've got the ones that have the short tails, the skin color, and then the bone ridges on them. There are different classes or hierarchies. You have warriors. You have the royal class. You have different, just like we have here within our range of existence, how they try to class people like the super rich and the billionaires and the elites. It's the same shit. Okay. Same people doing the same bullshit. So when you talk about that, you're talking about a lineage that is the world government or controls the world government. The pyramid structure that I showed you guys several months back from Chuck Swindoll and also Guy Anderson. He has the pyramid structure in his books too. So you have the world monarch at the top, and then you have the different layers within that with the different orders, the Dark Brotherhood, the Jesuit, the gray and black Pope, the black nobility. You have all of them all up into one. There's a pyramid structure hierarchy in this plane of existence. Okay. So it says essentially the essence of this entity or the clan of these beings is that they're acquiring world dominance through war. The Blacksmith Association is not just basic metallurgy, but weapons of war, spirit connotation. The mastery of metals also extends into alchemy or warlock or witchcraft. All right. When you talk about these secret societies, you talk about these fraternities, sororities, and I'm going to rub some people the wrong way, but I give two fucks because I'm keeping it 100. You are talking about you're being directly affected by these 13 bloodline families. It's actually about 20, but for the video, I'm going to say 13. You're being affected by these entities when you go into these HBCUs and these universities. This is a hierarchical structure that they have set up to keep everyone distracted and focused on stuff that really is not important to the well-being of your soul ascension or traveling, your transference, your transcendence. It's not going to help you in that order. What they're doing is they're ciphering our energy and they're keeping us in a loop. Fear, reaction, problem, solution. If they can keep us scared, they keep harnessing our energy. They utilize our bodies. They utilize everything. They utilize it to the T, and they've got this place so locked down. It is unbelievable. But many will not be able to come to terms with that, what I'm saying. There's only a few of you going to get this, really understand this information. If they can keep us in this loop, stuck in this loop, then we're going to continue. And then eventually they want the organic to merge with a inorganic thing or silicone or a more of a control matrix to where we're controlled by AI. All right. That's coming. We've had AI before. Okay. Many, many resets ago, but now they're coming back with this negative connotation. Like I told you in the very beginning, there was balance. There's not balance now. Okay. You have to understand that. So when you're looking at the world dominance, the world governments, there is a hierarchy, and those secret societies, fraternities, Freemasonry, all that plays up into the hierarchy, whether you know it or not. Just because you got a job and you're making seven figures a year, you can vacation, go wherever you want. That doesn't guarantee your soul is going to be out of here. You're not going to get out of here. The goal is for us to go back to the kingdom of heaven, correct? Kingdom of heaven is within you, but the goal is for us to go beyond these walls, which is contained, and go back to the celestial lands where our true home is at. Right now, we're stuck. And many people don't understand that we're stuck. Okay. They think when they die, they're going to go to heaven and there's going to be this great big whatever. But that's the furthest thing from the truth. Okay. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it is what it is. Once you become into that understanding and that knowledge, then you can start to create the world that you want and do the things that you need to do to get the hell out of here and not repeat the cycle. Okay. Tubal-Cain is the brother of Jobal and the master of music, just like Lucifer, the choir leader of heaven before the fall. Jobal, his other brother, is the first to master livestock domestication, which is ultimately the essence of the harmonization of the land and the people as well. Okay. So these entities had this knowledge and they brought this knowledge here. And then as they started to have children, right? Genealogy, children, ancestry, they taught these things. Okay. Y'all know the story of the book of Enoch. I know some of y'all are reading it right now, right? So it says Tubal-Cain also had a sister named Nimah. Okay. And when we're talking about these beings, we're talking about beings that come from beyond the ice walls. All right. They are people just like you and I. They may look a little different, but nonetheless, they live a long time. They're much taller, much bigger. Their stature, brain spans are much larger. Very intelligent. I'm just telling you. So we come from that lineage. All right. So it says Nimrod is associated with Venus and the beauty like Lucifer and is considered by many the angel of the seductress. The claim is that she either seduced angels to fall in order to merge with them, or it was Eve in Genesis 4:1. I have acquired a man from the Lord. In the Bible, there is a reference to the Lord God, God Adonai, Ashamai, Elohim. Many claim these are not the same entity, but three different entities, which, yeah, they are. I would say that they are, which is why many look to Genesis 3:15. I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed, as proof that there are two seed types here and two distinct types of beings. There are multiple beings that live in this realm. And I hear it all the time on social media where everybody wants to go back and pull up something on Wikipedia or something from Harvard or Yale or these institutions that talk about Africa is the ground zero. You got to understand that these resets were done and they rewrote the history. There is information out there that points to America as the oldest continent in this plane of existence. And when these beings came here, they touched down here. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm passionate about it because I know what I'm talking about. And I mean, when you ask for something and you fast and the creator brings it to you, what can you do but look at it and accept it? All right. I'm just telling you, we are on the oldest continent that there is, and all the chaos started right here in America. This is why the Zionists are here to work towards destroying the corporation that was built. The country's gone to hell in a handbasket. They hijacked the Constitution in the 1700s, y'all. We are not operating. They're operating out of balance, and we really don't have a government. I'm just going to tell you that. But I'm not going to get too deep up into that because I can really go there. But I'm just telling you that things are not what they seem. And you've really got to understand this information. You got to, because it's depending on whether or not you can free yourself. This is part of the process of you freeing yourself, right? So, when we look at these different lineages or beings, okay, you got to understand that you're dealing with different hybrids. You're dealing with different beings, and you're dealing with different thought patterns and thought processes. The number one thing you need to understand is they are on the chaos, the war, destruction, rape, usurping, lying, and resetting agenda. Okay. And this is what they do. The majority of the people now that are into this are in seats of power. This is why the Epstein files, some of them were released, but the majority of the information, they didn't release everything. Because if they did, there would be nobody else left to control, because this dome would be all up. We would be running the shit like we're supposed to be. But we're so enamored and dumbed down with fluoride and 5G and popping pills and smoking weed and drinking and getting the ouchie Fauci, injecting ourselves up and being butt plug buddies. We're all running around like we're crazy. They got us exactly where they want us. But I may sound like a crazy person to some of you, but some of you all understand what I'm saying. I'm dropping tea. I'm dropping knowledge. Y'all got to get your head out your asses. I'm telling you, you got to live differently. You got to be in the world, but not of the world. You got to understand this stuff, man. It's just like, this is 101 shit. This is like the base. I'm going as slow as possible to get you to see that everything we've been taught is a motherfucking lie. And I think it's fucking fascinating. Because once you know, it's just like, wow. You couldn't get any worse. But once you know, you understand that there are beings here that do want to see us free ourselves. They don't want to see us like we're doing. There are some reptilians that are actually on our side. All right. I am here to say this on video today on August the 8th. Shout out to my nephew. Today is his solar return, Terrell. I will text you or call you later. Auntie loves you. There are entities that are here that are working for the enlightenment and the truth and to help us free ourselves. But we got to do the work. And a majority of us ain't doing the work. Okay. I'm just going to tell you. So we're talking about this lineage, that there are two different types of beings. This is what he says. So he says, one being is soulless, fallen angel, lineage, and one being a line of souls is likeness of the Father, the creator of all. Hyperborea, the five masters, the imminent, the being, the force, the life force that has the spark. Okay. You understand that. Soul and soulless. All right. This is why in a negative womb will reject an Rh positive child. Many are heterozygous now to know where they're both Rh negative and Rh positive. And sometimes the pregnancy doesn't result in complications. All right. These angelic hybrids brought about the corruption of the earth and ultimately brought about the flood. There are multiple floods and wars and resets. Okay. You got to understand that Noah's flood is not the only one. All right. What they did was they merged the timelines together and they make everybody think this one thing, but it's not. This has been going on for millennia, for thousands of years. So I'm telling you. So we got to remember we're the seventh reset. All right. So the flood comes about. This angelic brings about this destruction and corruption of the earth. Many of these beings are giants. Genesis 6:4. All right. And my Bible's in the other room. It's not in here. I would read it. It is said that Nimah was Noah's wife, so that is how the fallen angel seed managed to survive the flood and immediately led to the corruption of earth rapidly after the flood. In Leviticus 18:20, your father's nakedness is defined as his wife. Seeing or uncovering your father's nakedness is to have sex with his wife. All right. And it says, Genesis 9:27, Ham sees the nakedness of his father. His brothers then covered their father's nakedness. This means that Ham slept with his own mother, Noah's wife, Nimrod. You got to understand, these are different beings. They have different practices. Not saying it's right. It's absolutely horribly wrong. I'm telling you that. But I'm just simply telling you that is their nature and that is their way. All right. All right. And we've got some human entities, hybrids, organics, whatever you want to call them, doing the same shit right now. I'm telling you, that's why you have the retardation, not to be offensive, but you have the recessive genes of some because of the stuff that they've been doing all this time, right? Just going to tell you. This is like when you have two dogs, when you breed the dogs and the sisters and the brothers and you have puppies. Something is going to be a miss there. There's going to be a recessive gene. There's going to be a lot of problems within that gene pool. Okay. So it says, this led to the curse of Cain, not Ham. Canaan is cursed to serve as the brother in Genesis 9:25. Brethren being Shem, Ham, and his father Japheth. The oldest line or the eldest brother is Shem. The Shemitic people are the American Indians, aka reclassified as Black, African American, mulatto, colored, whatever. We're the line of Shem. And if you do your genealogy and you know your blood type, you'll figure that shit out. Just gonna tell you. So we are the line of Shem. We are not African. Africans are from Ham. Though they all lived in the United States, and when they started warring and fighting, they pushed out to other continents. That is why Africa is underdeveloped to this day, and it does not have that many springs. It does not have the food. We brought the food from here over there. Okay. Animals included. Everything was here first, and it was pushed out to other locales. America, then Asia, then Europe, then Africa. Just gonna tell you. So, with that mindset, it was the brothers, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is from the dark race also, Africans, Egyptians, blah, 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 whatever, okay? Some will say something different. I'm just going to tell you my understanding, all right? You go look it up. You read it yourself. You have the Shemitic people here. You got Ham, because you got to look, their brothers or cousins. We're all related. That's the crazy part. And then you've got Japheth, which is the lighter. Japheth was also dark. All these original beings were dark skinned. They were all melanated. But as you go on through the breeding of the other entities that come from beyond the ice walls, then this is where you get the different lineages and the Nephilim, the bloodlines, and that type of thing. You understand what I'm saying? The intermixing of the different beings. All right. And that's where you break off the lineages. That's why they're doing what they're doing now with these bloodline families, with these people that are in control now, because they think because they come from this long line of this Nephilim bloodline that they have some kind of reign over all the rest of us. And that is not the case. And you all really have to understand that. Like, we are all wonderfully, beautifully created. All right. We should be all in the same even playing field, but we're not. We're not. And they have us like that. And they have us under their thumb. You have to understand that. From my heart to yours, I'm just speaking it to you in love and letting you know that, right? So when you're looking at these three brothers, they were initially dark. They were melanated. The day of the Lord is in darkness, the void. God is dark. God is light, but God is black too. I'm just telling you, it encompasses everything because it's an energy and it is a consciousness. Okay. It can take on a body. The creator of all can take on anything it wants because we live within it. All right. Just going to tell you not to get so deep. So then when you look at this and we talk about the brothers and how the son slept with the mother and then this line came about. Okay. This is where you start to get this inbreeding and then you start to have these wars and these backbitings, right? This is why in Samuel 13, 19, 22, the Philistine or the giants from Canaan had the monopoly on blacksmithing. The knowledge survived the flood through Canaan. All right. Now, when we go on, that's the first reset. The second reset is the construction of a very impressive grid, though, not as advanced as the first, which is the Hyperboreans, okay? It begins when Nimrod, the Cushite Hamite, becomes the leader of Babylon and the Shemitic and Hamite mixed kingdom. Again, you've got two dark-skinned kingdoms side by side, brothers, cousins, whatever, but we're not the same. We are not from the same progenitor. They're different, okay? So when you get to that point, Nimrod is the main figure associated with leading people to build the Tower of Babel to reach heaven or God. And that's in Canada. I showed you that on the video. I pulled it up. You guys go look at it again, right? Later, Ezekiel, it states Cushites and will work with Gog and Magog. Later in Ezekiel, it states, I don't know, there's a typo here. Says that they will work with Gog and Magog to bring about the destruction to start another reset. And you need to look up Gog and Magog, who that is. All right. So the Cushite affinity for the rebellion destruction is part of the loop, apparently. So we're stuck in a loop, like I told you. Every time they do these resets, the control gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And the history is very fascinating because you have a lot of different entities that are in and out of this reality tunnel. There are a lot of entities that live here and they have been here a very long time and they know the history too. Shout out to anybody who reaches out to me. I'm very receptive and open to that. I'm just telling you that, the history is much more deeper and richer than what you can ever possibly imagine. They have dug up so many bones of giants. Shout out to, David Paulides and his book over here on Bigfoot and the giants. He took newspaper articles from the 17, the 16s, the 1800s, the early 1900s, newspaper articles a huge book where you can see that they dug up bones of people, of us, melanated people that were here. I mean, you have multiple races, but you didn't have them on the scale we have today. You got to remember everybody was melanated at one point. And of course, with the inbreeding and the different lines, then you've got the different gene pools and the different types, the different skin colors. All right. So, with the Tower of Babel, which is located in Mount Babel, Canada, was a frequency tower akin to a 5G tower, but it was much stronger. It was casting a signal to breach the firmament and to go beyond the ice walls. And it created a pathway to usher in more of these beings that came in. He says fallen angels here in the book. I'm just going to tell you they're beings. They're just entities like you and I. All right. As well as transmit consciousness beyond the firmament to forcefully reach God. All right. When the tower was destroyed, it was 1/3 of the people killed each other, and 1/3 became like beasts or fallen. We'll read that in the Lost Teachings of Atlantis. And the remaining 1/3 scattered throughout the realm with different languages. The tower disrupted the atmosphere in the realm and broke down telepathy worldwide. At one point, we didn't talk like I'm doing right now. We spoke to each other mentally as a vibration in the field. We didn't have to move our lips. We didn't have to move our mouths. So I'm telling you, we're at our lowest form right now. It is important to note that in these resets, most, not all, the adults are usually wiped out, leaving the children to rebuild civilization. All right. They usually do that. Hey, Anita. So as I've read before in Claudio Naselli's books, not this one, it's another one where it talks about they come in and they take the children at 6 months of age or less. Everybody else, unalive. And then it's just what they do. So they may keep a few to have children with, to have children and have procreate with them, but they're at at a level of like 7, 8, 9 years old. And they don't keep very many of them. I'm telling you. I mean, it's written and it's very graphic. I have books on it, but some things I'm just not going to read online. But you have to understand this is what we're dealing with. And this is what they've been doing for a very, very long time. Pedophilia is a sickness. It's a disease, and it runs rampant in this world. And if you think that it doesn't, I'm sorry, you need to come up out under a rock. It really, really is a problem here. It's a problem worldwide. It's been a problem for a very long time. And it goes back to these entities. All right. All right. Because the original ones were not like that. That was not our way. I'm just going to tell you, it was not. So when we're looking at the rebuilding of the civilization, this is what they do. Okay. That's why I'm telling you, race at this point really does not matter what color you are. They're going to kill us all. I'm going to tell you, they're going to do it. They've done it before. They were the 7th generation. Look at all the others that they've unalived and they've gotten rid of. So it doesn't matter about what you think or you may be in a secret society. You may be working underground in one of these deep underground bases, and you've been shown some things. You've met some reptilians and some other entities, and you think you're safe. No, you're not. You're expendable just like everybody else. I'm just going to tell you. They're only concerned about themselves, because you have to understand something. A parasite, if you study a parasite and its ways, and you understand what it does to its hosts, it's only going to it's not going to kill itself completely off, because it has to sustain life, right? There will be a small percentage, and you think that you're going to be one of those small percentages. You would be better off transitioning out the body and trying to get up out of here than to stay and go through what's about to happen. Okay. So you have to understand what we're dealing with here, the brevity of the situation. So I've talked to you about the first and second reset. The third reset, where it brings about those star forts that you see. So like, I did a video over that. The star forts will be like the prisons. I'm thinking Alcatraz. I'm thinking of, oh my God, there's one in France. I cannot think of the name of it. I see it in my head, but I don't remember the name of it. If you just Google star forts, I have a book on it. I have a thick book on different star forts all around this dome or in this plane of existence. They brought about those star forts. So that's the third reset. That's where that comes into. So it's a geometric polygon cities that are known as star forts, as Palanova, Italy. That's the one I'm talking about. Among many across the realm. After the scattering of the Tower of Babel and the breakdown, Nimrod, by the way, they found Nimrod's body in Afghanistan. That's why we went to war over there, is to get his body and to get the technology that was over there. To get the war, to weapons of mass destruction, it was Nimrod we were going after. All right. There's been people on U.S. military talking about this for a while. All right. So you'll just have to go back and do some research, watch some videos. I talk about it, but, they were able to pull his DNA. They found his body, and anything that they find, they have the technology to bring back. Okay. So these entities are back and they're here. I'm just telling you that without a shadow of a doubt, they're here. Okay. So then, when you get to this lineage of after the Tower of Babel is destroyed, you've got this next reset where you have these star forts, and then, you have land agreements that were done, right? That were done. And after the scattering of the Tower of Babel with Noah, this leads to a disequilibrium across the realm. The Canaanites squat in Shemitic lands. They're still doing that now. We still have the Canaanites that are here that say that they are the Native Americans. They are the original people of this dome, and they're not. But I'm not trying to do a race war. I'm trying to explain to you what has transpired and why everybody's running around here thinking there's something they're not. And it's brilliant the way they've done it because they've got everybody confused. I mean, only until you pull back and you start doing your fasting and you start doing your breath work and you stop eating is when you really start to see it for what it is. And then you get the knowledge. It'll come to you, and it'll come to you like when you go to sleep. It'll just be bam. It'll be a download you get. Like, damn. And it's like, you know it. It's not even about you remembering. It's just like it's in you. It's in your DNA. You already know this information that I'm telling you. You already know it. You just got to tap into it, right? So they're squatting on this land here, all right? And so in violation of the natural order, this leads to the expulsion, bondage, and circling of Joshua and Israelites when they come to take the land back. This creates a scourge within Canaan that never truly dies, even to this day for most Canaanites. All right. Some Canaanites were amicable, though, such as Hiram and Hiram-Abith or Tyre helped build the temple. Solomon, who was half Canaanite himself, his mother was a Hittite, used witchcraft. There's a pyramid. There's 4 witches. I ain't even gonna go there. Let me stay on point. I could just break so much more down to you, but I'm not. There is a spell that's being broadcasted out over this realm. All right. On top of all the other shit we got to deal with, I'm telling you, they got layers to this shit. So just when you think you can pierce through one level and get the fuck out of here, there's another level you got to go to. It's like a video game. And it's very serious, but I'm just simply telling you that there is more than one thing that you've got to understand. You got to focus. That's why I'm saying you got to take yourself back to a baseline state to where you can even get this understanding in your DNA and your essence and your bones. It's there. You just got to understand. You got to recall the stuff, right? You got to recall the information that you already know that you've lost or that you've buried. And you got to reconnect with your higher self and source. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to stop participating in all the other stuff that you've been doing and break away from that and do something completely different that you've never done before. And it's a challenge. It's a struggle. I'm doing it now and it's hard as hell. I'm telling you, it's a struggle. So when we talk about Solomon and him being a half breed or mixture, right? And then Ashmedai helps him to build the temple. This was the original organic form of AI. Ashmedai was. All right. We've mastered that. This was thousands of years ago. So what they're trying to do now is they're trying to replicate the world that was once here, but they're doing it on a negative side, not a positive side. I hope that makes sense. So the angelic intelligence, which is Ashmedai, brought the intelligence of Shamir to construct the temple. This ultimately led to Ashmedai usurping Solomon, casting him out to Persia and taking his identity. Eventually, Solomon gets back, but much damage is done and the trajectory of the kingdom is in a downward spiral. And this is where we are now today. I'm just telling you. Now, generations later, the temple would be destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, aka who did we say? Saddam Hussein. He claimed that he was Nebuchadnezzar reincarnated. And they killed his ass because he wanted his own currency. Anybody that goes against the Jesuit priest order, cabal, world government, gangsterish, usurpers, Ponzi scheme, fucktards, they killed. All right? Edward Snowden to me was not a traitor. He was just speaking truth. And if for those of you who disagree, then I'm going to say you're from the Cabbage Patch bloodline and you're a recessive gene. And you don't need to be on my page. Just keeping it 100. Just keeping it 100. So Nebuchadnezzar, aka Saddam Hussein, reincarnated. They killed him. He's the king of Babylon. This led to the exile and imprisonment of the prominent members within the kingdom. The temple would eventually be rebuilt and then destroyed again by Rome or Edom. Okay. And ultimately the Israelites would be expelled eastward across the Mississippi River towards where we are now, the kingdom between California and Utah, which is Judah. Okay. That is why they have that repository up in the mountains. There's military bases. There's 2 in every state, but they have a huge repository of records of all the original beings that are here, original lineages, the melanated people, their lineages. They also have blood banks, DNA, all that stuff is underground. They have all that shit sewed up. They know who you are. They know what family and what lineage you come from, if you're in a royal dynasty or not, and they surveil you. And I'm just telling you, I think it's brilliant the way they did this shit. I mean, when you know, you're just like, whoa, you know. So Utah and California is supposed to be the promised land. All right. I'm just telling you, that's the biblical narrative. What you read in King James, that is America. That's not overseas. That's not. It's here. So there are some of the first reset wars on file. Most of not all natural resets are preceded by reset wars. Okay. War. Warlike people. I told you these entities fight. This is the fight for power over who controls the surviving remnant of the reset. The fourth reset is the fall of Rome or Edom, which historians claim to be the year 476 CE, which is actually 1476. They inserted 1,000 years in the timeline. I know you guys, you probably say, Nisi, you're a broken record. Oh my God, Nisi, you said it so much time. Because I need to drive this home for you to understand they added 1,000 years. This is not 2026. It's like 1020, 1018, the year timeline. It really is. And you got to understand that all the history has been pushed together and they try to inject stuff, that's why they messed up our cycles. That's why they messed up the moon. Hell, there's another sun behind the sun that's in the sky. That's a simulation. That's a projection. It's not the real sun. I'm just telling you, it's fascinating, but I'm not trying to be off topic and get too deep. I'm just simply telling you that the fourth reset was in the 1400s. All right. Where you get 1492 and Columbus and all that shit. No, that's a lie. That was the rewriting of history. So it says, which brings us to the next phase of the overall reset process that we find ourselves in today. The Middle Ages or the Renaissance periods are a reset period. 476 was a reset. Immediately following that, a false history was constructed with the use of AI. All right. This is why you get a lot of whitewashing of the pictures. You'll see the original pictures of a melanated person, and then you'll see the whitewash version of the person, right? And I mean, they had to do that. Like I told you, the pheomelanated or pale race was not widely in this realm. And once they were created as offspring, genetically created, silicone modified based, they were brought into this existence as clones, Cabbage Patch, Rosebud babies, and you have this new narrative, and they had to write these people in to put them in history. Because if you go back and you look at the history, it was nothing but melanated, dark-skinned people. So that leads the question: where do these pale people come from? Where do white people come from? Where do you think they came from? I know where they came from. I'm asking you. Do you know? Now, we have the capability of having pale-skinned babies. We do, because I have one. I'm just telling you, but it doesn't matter about whether you're a Cabbage Patch or whether you're white. If you're a racist, you're a dumb racist, you can get the fuck off my page. I'm sorry. You're going to come over, you're going to learn some shit. But I'm just telling you, it doesn't matter what race you are at this point. They're going to kill us all. I'm just telling you. They're on the mission. They don't care. They're going to use you. You got to understand this. So get on whatever side you're going to be on. If you're going to be on the dumb racist side, then stay your ass over there. You're going to get what you're going to get. If you're going to be on the side of trying to ascend and learn some things and put this into practice and do what you need to do to survive and to ascend, then that's great. And if you just want to keep your head in the sand and keep living your life the way you living, that's fine too. It's your choice. I'm not trying to change you to believe you in anything. I'm just sharing the information because I find it fascinating, and there's a lot of people that do not talk about it. So when you talk about Black history and you talk about history, you get the whitewash version of it. And you have to understand why they did that, okay? Because in all actuality, it's not a pale-skinned person's fault or white person's fault. Yeah, you got a lot of white supremacists in the narrative and saving the white race and this, that, and the other, but they don't understand that they were created. They were created and they were utilized, and they've been used this whole time. And if I were a pheomelanated person, I would be pissed off because now that I find out this shit, because your lineage is not of the original people. You're created in something, and that doesn't make you any less valuable. That's not what I'm saying, because we've all been mixed now at this point, because I have Cabbage Patch in my family too. I'm just telling you, based on my genealogy and what I've done. And I'm just like, motherfuck. Yeah. So we're all in this together at this point, but you got to understand where these different lineages came from, and there's no shade to them. It actually pisses me off because when I found out who was really behind this shit, which a person looks like me, melanated, and they're doing this bullshit to everybody, including our own and to the quote unquote white race or pale race, that pisses me off. I'm mad about that shit. because it should never have been. We should not be where we are right now. Do you realize we could be living a whole completely different life and traveling to other dome worlds and meeting other cultures and other races of beings? But they have us contained in this thing, and we're running around here like we're crazy and we don't know the truth, and we get versions of it, right? So when you talk about the 1400s, you're really talking about the fourth reset. All right. So it says, which brings us to the next phase of the overall reset process that we find ourselves in today. The Middle Ages, the Renaissance periods, and the reset period. 476 was a reset. And immediately following that was a false history constructed by AI and the use of the photography and the whitewashing of documents and the resetting of history and the reconstruction of America and all these burnings of the cities all over the world, mud floods, digging stuff up, covering stuff. The trees, the giant mountains, like, in Utah, was it Devil's Canyon? Devil's Tower in Utah or Wyoming, where the hell is that? That's actually from like the first or second reset when they cut those trees. Okay. It wasn't the recent resets is what I'm telling you. It was further back in the timeline, but, they've usurped the history, and you've got to understand that the history that they've given you in universities you paid thousands of dollars for, it's been crafted. All right. It's been whitewashed. It's been crafted. And we understand why. We understand why they did that, right? I'm explaining to you why they've done this for control. So as you do this the reconstruction history using AI, AI has been around forever, inorganic and limiting, but AI was used to create the fake historical figures, the art, the history, and the timeline that we see now. Okay. It is actually the 1020s, not 2020s. And 1476 is actually 476. And during this phase, all the major religions were constructed. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism was constructed at that time. All three of those religions are interdependent on each other. Okay. You got to understand, why they did what they did. Okay. The Jesuit order, the Vatican, created that shit with the help of the reptilians. Okay. And I mean, I'm not trying to say that because you're in a religious dichotomy, it's shit. It's not. It's you. If it's what you believe in and what you stand on and what you live by, that's great. If you're practicing it and you're loving yourself, you're loving everyone around you, and you are really trying to ascend and do the right thing and live by the principles that are given to you, the 48 laws, or the principles, the 7 hermetic principles in the universal law. If you're living by that, that's great. But if you're living like everybody else and going to church on a Sunday or a Saturday and thinking you could do 3 Hail Marys and repent and tithe, and you think you're going to get out of here, you're sorely mistaken. You're delusional. It's a little bit more complicated than that. Okay. It really is. But you have to understand that those 3 religions were created at a timeline. And I know I'm going to have somebody, it's a lie. Ooh, okay, Cabbage Patch. Keep moving. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. This is for somebody who wants to really learn something. Okay. This is for educational purposes. All right. So when we talk about the religions were constructed, they were constructed for a form of control. Now we can do a religious study comparison because I have all the religious teachings, and we can take book by book and break them down on the principles, and we look at them across the plains, examine all of them. And you'll see that the concept is there on all of the different religions. They're just rewritten over because you've got different tribes, different lineages doing things, and you've got a group of people that were tasked to get rid of these books, keep these books, and put them together. Because they don't want you to look at this, because then that alludes to a different timeline. It alludes to something else, and we can't allow that. We've got to keep these people contained and focused on one thing, and burn the books and get rid of all the stuff, hijack, blow up the cities, take the knowledge, and then give them this little piece of knowledge over here and keep them stuck, dumb, deaf, blind, and stupid. And that's what they've done. Okay. So the phase after this reset brought about the neoclassical and the Moorish architecture riddled throughout the realm, which you see. Everybody wants to claim they're a Moor. Moor means several different things. All right. You're melanated. All right. I'm just telling you. And then you have it's so convoluted. I don't want to get too deep into this in this video, but I'm just going to say, yes, there were Negroes behind all this bullshit. Okay. There were dark-skinned, melanated people behind this shit. Okay. That's what you need to understand. So you cannot blame the white man. For you dark skinned people out there that want to blame everything on the white people, I'm going to say my light skinned, pale skinned, field melanated brothers, half of them don't even know this shit because they're duped like you are. We're all been played, literally. And there are some who know this stuff and they're waking up to this stuff and they understand it. But for them to have an intelligent conversation with their own as well as an opposite race is very difficult to do, because the more you learn and the more you understand certain things, you don't have the tolerance to deal with ignorant ass people. You don't. If I tell you I'm going to make a few more videos, I'm going to be off of here, because once you know, you grieve and you understand what's happening. And it's like, you got to save yourself. You know, you can put the information out there, but at some point, the research is, you got to pump the brakes and go, okay, I've learned this. I know the basics of it. I don't know the intricacies of everything, but I have a hierarchy. I have a high picture of everything. What do I need to do to ascend to get the hell out of here? That's where I'm at. Like literally, sharing the information is great. Put it into practicality. Like one of my sons said, Mom, it's okay. But you know, when you get people who are woke, they live a whole different life. You can't have a conversation with them. They this and that with the world, this and that's wrong and this and that. And you can't enjoy yourself because you're always doing something wrong. You can't be yourself around a woke person. I'm not going to get that way. I know what this place is. I'm thankful that I figured that out. The creator of all showed me. But at some point, all the research in the world is not going to save you if not put it into practice. That's my point. And the more you read, the more you grieve, because you become sorrowful because you see what has been done over the millennia. And it makes you angry. It makes you angry because you've taken your whole life and your whole being and you put it into something knowing now that it was a lie and it was false. So it makes you question who you are and what this is in your existence. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to get deep, but I'm just saying, when you get to that point where I am, it's like, there's only so much you can say. People are really not going to, either they're going to wrap their minds around it and know that, yeah, okay, something's wrong. Nisi's on to something, and I may not agree with her 100%, but let me go check what she's saying. You're going to come into your own understanding at your own time, right? But the number one thing you have to remember is you're going to have to give up some shit to get to that point. Because I'm having to give up a lot, and I'm still giving up stuff, and I'm going to have to give up more. And I mean, when Christ talks about giving up all your possessions and selling them and walking away, and he was a hippie out in the desert, Joshua, he was not driving a BMW and a Mercedes, living in a $700,000 house, making 6 figures a year. You know, kids in college and a mortgage. He wasn't like that. It was a different time, but I'm telling you, he gave that shit up because in the grand scheme of things, it's all vanity. It's all vexation of spirit. It's all useless because it doesn't serve you a purpose. You're only here having an experience. So either you're going to wake up from the dream or you're going to stay asleep. That's my point. Okay. So let's get into this last reset. So it says, when we talk about the Moorish technology or the Moorish architecture, all of these grand castles and buildings you see, this is where they start to integrate the Cabbage Patch, the field-melanated, the pale-skin race coming in. True enough, there's always been some pale-skinned people here that have been here, but not on the scale it is today. They had to rewrite the history and usurp it and bring them in from outside the ice walls. And I know you're like, oh, Nisi, you're just on some, okay, whatever. I'm just telling you, for the people who really want to know, you can go look it up. I can give you the books and everything, and you can spend thousands of dollars like I've done and go read the stuff. I'm just telling you. There has been multiple researchers. Multiple people have talked about this. I am not the only one that's bringing this information out. I am just sharing the information. All right. You got to go do the research. So history remained static during this dark ages. Dark ages is because there's a bunch of niggas. And I don't mean to offend people on the video. I'm being myself, okay? There's a bunch of dark-skinned people. That's why they call it the Dark Ages, all right? All right? From 476 until the Renaissance, okay? The pale-skin race was not at this level there was, because you got to remember, there's been resets, there's been killing off, there's been angelic lines coming in, different species of beings coming in. So you're starting to get the mixture of the lighter races and the different color races. All right. You've got the crawlers. You've got the rakes that click, 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 click. They travel like the speed of light in the woods. They live in the woods and they're very pale. They look like spiders. They're appendages and they're part of the pale melanated race. I mean, they are. I'm not lying. There are cryptids. There are other things that are here that they've been genetically tampering with for thousands of years, you guys. And this is why these people go missing in the parks. These things get hungry and they also snatch them up and take them underground. And they also pop them into portals and all different parts of the planes of existence. There's a lot of shit going on here. I find it fucking fascinating because once you know, you're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going over here. I'm keeping my ass out of here. I know to carry this when I go here. You understand what's going on, right? So when you look at the history and you look at the Renaissance, he talks about Leif Erikson and how the same ships were used hundreds of years later to reach the Americas. Yet we were led to believe that Rome couldn't in 476. There are buildings with Roman cement throughout the realm that don't line up with the timeline, especially in places like Bulgaria, because Rome's cement supposedly was lost for hundreds of years in the fall of Rome. None of the sediment or carbon dating stories make sense, especially when you know the factor in the meltdowns that change the surface of the earth rapidly. Not only were there mud floods, there are portals where the rain comes down, okay, because this is a simulation, so it can flood like a bowl, like a fish bowl. This place is a bowl. It can do that, and then also you have to understand from the sun, they utilize a technology where it has plasma strikes, and it strikes everything, like the 1812 Carrington event. There's been multiple plasma strikes on this planet. Velikovsky talks about it, the Adam and Eve story. You need to go look that up. The CIA had that under Rob Stanley, released like 52 pages. I got the book, but I mean, you know, I don't have the whole book. I think the whole book is like $3,000, but, I have 52 pages of released documents from the CIA website. I got that. So I'm just telling you, they know. That's why they're building these cities underground and they're populating these data centers because they know what's coming. Another reset. So, then you have the Roman architecture with the cement. All right. None of the sediment or carbon dating stories make sense, and it doesn't because there's a flaw in carbon dating. There were ships that were found in Turkey that were supposedly buried by the tsunami that caused the mud flood, and these ships have items that should be about 700 years apart, yet they were all found together as a contemporary items. Coins, restruck to change dates, recoinages, and that's why they stopped printing the penny. The penny gives a nod to the melanated people, which is the original progenitors of this land here in America. They stopped making it. I know that for 1 penny, I think it cost $3.69 to make 1 penny. So they stopped it, right? So, and they were using wheat pennies and they switched it, the copper wheat, and they switched it to something else. So now they're not doing that. The pennies are not in circulation anymore. So what we have now is we have civilizations on top of civilizations. If you go back and look at a couple of my videos I've done over on Tartaria, I've done over on the ley lines. I'll have to reshare it or repost it again, but it's quite fascinating when you go online and you look it up and you look at the architecture and you look at the structure. 2012 was, the last time, is it Kazakhstan? They took down their, 0-point energy towers. Okay. They were running on free energy in 2012. So now they're plugged into the grid. They were the last ones to go from the last reset. So, we have the technology and the capability to have water pull it out of the air. Okay. We have machines that can do that, then desalinate the water, salt water, and bring fresh water in. They're not doing that now. They really want to try to keep us at a limited place, and they're going to push the narrative of food shortages, water shortages, weather anomalies. They're also going to push in more surveillance with the flock cameras, the data centers. It's coming to a point now where it's going to be about as worse as it's going to be before all this shit pops off, and it's going to be the end. Okay. So we're getting down to that time of where they're going to do another reset. Okay. This is while this stuff is happening. So when we talk about these different civilizations, we've got 6 civilizations that are underneath us right now. And we're on the surface. We're surface dwellers. There are people that live underground that have been there this whole time. All right. We have 6 civilizations that we have built on, and they've merged all of the timeline together, and they subtracted or added 1,000 years and subtracted a month from the calendar to get this narrative. And they created these religions at the same time. It's a lot of stuff. I think it's fascinating. So the Renaissance brought about modern matriarchal Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Cain means cabal in Arabic. All three of these religions were created by the same people. The Cain spore stock. The cabal is where we get Kabbalah in Islam, was initiated by the Warrages, brother of Khadijah, the merchant who was in Cabal. He told Muhammad to start his ministry. Christianity was created to validate the fake geography of the Middle East to support matriarchal Judaism. Okay. All three of them also support the fake timelines so that all depend on one another. Many call this the Vatican or the Jesuit order. That's what I call it. But the Catholic itself comes from Gaelic word from Cain or Cathane or Catholic, which means universal or world domination. Cain means acquire. The war on the world is the Cain world order. And it goes back to the reptilian dragon bloodlines of the entities that came here. All right. The commerce or commissary or commission or mission or missionary pushes from the Cain or Cathanic adversary. There are arcs in all of these resets. You have to have an arc. Noah's Ark was one, was said to be measured in cubits. A cubit is a quantum bit, okay? His ark was 300 cubits long. A cubit is unfathomably large. A quantum computer was just, 300 cubits could represent more states than there are atoms in the universe, okay? The AI, which is the opposite of organic one, always has its own arc to endure resets. And that's how they sustain through the parasitic infection. And we do get parasites through food. We get parasites through sex, anal sex. We get parasites through the eye. They are infecting people, especially in Hollywood and in sports. These people that you see on TV go through these rituals because they are merged with something that is not quote unquote organic or human. All right. And they spread this. They spread it through anal sex, through everybody has parasites. Every single person in this planet has parasites. You just need to know how to purge them from you and take your body back to a baseline state where it's healthy. All right. So the parasite always shadows the producer. The parasite is never a subline. As a producer, it gets as close as possible. It is very subtle, just like the originator of the universe. It gradually grows like a fungus until it overtakes everything. Once it does, a reset is inevitable. And that's where we're pushing to now because we're plagued by parasites, literally outwardly and inwardly within our temples. Okay. Because the parasite is dependent on the producer. As the producer breaks down, the parasite has to minimize in order to survive. It never wants to completely control the host or wipe it out completely. All right. It needs the host to have enough of a template left to restore itself and repeat the cycle so it can feed on the host perpetually. That's why we're in a loop. That's why we're going through the things with the cannibalism, the sex trafficking, the unaliving of younglings. All that stuff plays a factor in this parasitic invasion. And there's one group of beings that is in control of all of this. And they're warring right now with Iran. I'm just going to tell you, they're a part of it. They're a big part of it. They're at the top. When you have taken everything from a man, he is no longer in your power. He is free again. So now I've read to you about the preemptive wars. And what I want to call out to you is when we talk about the souls versus the soulless, you're talking about a personified program. And when we're talking about these different lineages of people that are intermixing, because we're intermixing with people who have souls and don't have souls. And you probably had a child with someone that don't have a soul. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. It's like that. It really is. May sound crazy, but it is the truth of the thing. And it's sad that we are not taught these things in the beginning, but once you get to a certain understanding and level of knowledge, then, like I said, you can put certain things into practice and understand the things that you need to do to pull yourself out of this shit. All right. Because it's going to be you. You have to save yourself. No one's going to come and save you. You've got to save yourself. You got to save yourself. And this is the start of it. You learning something different. You learning other than what the status quo has taught, right? You're stepping outside that and walking in your truth. So when we crossbreed with the original soul, it creates a hybridized heterozygous person. This is a bound soul that is mostly running off the parasitic program operating system. So that's why I'm telling you, a lot of people go, oh, that's too fantastical. It doesn't sound right. Where's your proof? How are you getting all this information? You're repeating something somebody else said. You're a heterozygous parasite, recessive Cabbage Patch, and you can't update your programming because you are not allowed to do that. When I say you're not allowed to do that, you can't even begin to give yourself the grace to do it because you're so stuck on what you've been taught. You can't see the forest for the trees. Now, I'm sure that there are some parasites, Cabbage Patch, whatever, out there that are tired of living what they're living and they're noticing that this isn't right and they're wanting to free themselves. Applaud to you. Shout out to you. You know, you have to update your operating software. You have to update your system. Like you reboot your phone, you update the software on the phone, you update the software on your laptop. You got to update the software that's in your temple, that's in your brain. So there's not quite NPCs, but they're autonomous or autochthonous souls either. So you've got autonomous and you've got autochthonous. Autochthonous will be the original people of the land who have souls, and the autonomous was the soulless or the seed, all right, the lineage from the Nephilim, all right? So many people don't have family tree information past 250 to 300 years because they came from one or more of these clones that have been injected into the timeline. Okay. And that's what you have to understand. The injection into the timeline. The history in Europe is inverted, and the people to first inhabit Europe were the brown skinned people from America. And I know some of you are going to have a hard time from that, but I'm just simply explaining that to you. And then, where I want to say is, when we have the class of people like, we talk about the Shemites, the Amites, and the Moabites. There's different tribes that lived here. The one thing that I want to point out in this book, and I know I've talked about it before, we need to talk about the Oyo or the Europa Empire, which was at the center of the slave or a prisoner warlike trade, because this is where all this pedophilia and shit starts off at, right? I mean, it was already going on, but they really had to construct it down at this point when they started doing the slave trade. And the slave trade was told to us in reverse, okay? They took people from here and they took them out and they spread them all over the world while they were bringing these Cabbage Patch or melanated pale-skinned people in. Not all the pale-skinned people. I'm going to say this for the video, and I say this every freaking time. I feel like a broken record. Not all white, pale-skinned, melanated people are Cabbage Patch. Some of them, blood type O, are actually autochthonous, melanated Negroes lineage from us. Okay? I have to explain that to you. And it's not about looking up something on Wikipedia and saying, okay, I've done my genealogy. I've done my blood test. I know who I am. This is what the markers say. I'm telling you, they rewrote the history. And if you are an O positive person and you're a pale skin, white, melanated, and you can't go back 250 to 300 years, then you know that there's some hybridization there. There's some cloning that took place. Okay. If you have a genealogy tree, you will most definitely see that you have a melanated person within your family. Even though you may be as pale as a ghost and have blue eyes, you got a melanated grandmother somewhere. I'm just telling you. I mean, I find it fascinating. I don't have a problem with it. I just, people need to understand it. I mean, we're all adults. Put on your big girl and big boy pants. Like I said, you're going to go back and you're going to rely on the educational system, what was taught. But you see those very same individuals are the ones that have Fauci on TV right now parading him around. And then you have the Epstein files, or nothing's coming about that shit. Those are the very same people that started this happy sauce injection crap, the wars going on. It's the same group of people that are rewriting the history and keeping everybody confused. So you can't necessarily base your analogy on everything that's out there in these universities. You can look at it, but you have to look at it in a critical mindset. And like I said, you got to fast. You got to meditate. And then you got to ask the creator to show you. You got to ask God to give it to you. And he will give it to you freely. The energy, the life force, the spark, the Havwa will give it to you. but you have to be prepared to understand some things because it's going to go against what you were taught. So you're going to reject it automatically because you're going to think it's a lie. And I mean, if you're there, you're there. I can't help you. I mean, I'm attempting to put my mask on and save myself, and I'm just throwing you a life raft. That's all I'm doing. I'm just showing you something. So the slave trade was a big thing, but also there was ultimately the drug trade, which was mostly sugar based. And you have to understand that. So people were dealing in sugar, and sugar is one of the most addictive things. Okay. The Moors were some of the biggest slave traders. Negroes, I'm going to say Negroes, niggas, were some of the biggest slave traders of their own people and also of other races. Because remember the resets, the raping of young ones and having mixed breeds and babies and things like that. Excuse me. That's where you come from the Cabbage Patch stuff. Some of it was clones that were created in labs, and then some of them were actually raped into existence. Just going to tell you. So they were some of the biggest slave traders, especially so-called white people. White people were slaves. They are the original slaves of this planet. They are. And I'm not trying to be mean when I say that. I love my light-skinned brothers and sisters. I have too many of y'all in my family. I have too many white people in my family. I love y'all, but y'all been used. Y'all been like cannon fodder. And now the way the white supremacy and the racist ideology that's running rampant, especially in the police departments and stuff like that, these people that are racist have no fucking idea that they were slaves. And they're going to continue to believe the narrative that they were taught because they have a position to play on the field in the game. They're going to continue to play that game. They're not going to be able to update the operating system. The only thing they can do, you can send them back to the void, snatch the life out of them and send them back, because we're all going to be incarnating again if we don't get this shit right. Or we may not. I'm not God. I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is what's happened before, and I can tell you what's going to happen. I just can't tell you when it's going to happen. Just saying. So white people were the original slaves. The Moors crossbred with their servant class heavily until the point where the servants echelon heavily outnumbered them in certain areas. And this is why we have the takeover and the flipping of history and the whitewashing of history now. I will probably get into the white slave trade and cover that because I think that's very fundamental for us to understand that, right? With the slave trade. And it's no shame. It's not. I mean, like I told you, when I found out that the actual quote unquote pale skin or white people were actually the slaves, that pissed me off too, because this whole time we've been taught something different, and it's very disconcerting. I'll tell you, when you start to do this research, you start to read, man, you got to pull back some, because you will get to a point where you go into a depression. You will get that way. And for me, I have to function. We all have to pay bills. We have to live. We have families. We have everything. But the research and the knowledge is still there. They haven't erased everything. Okay. But with this next reset that's coming, all this stuff will probably be gone this time around. So you have to retain it in your faculty, and you have to pull it out of your DNA. It's within you already. It's just maybe I'm a trigger for you to get you to go look at it, right? And to think about it. And I'm not saying everything that I'm saying is 100% factual, but I'm telling you it's damn close. It's damn close. And it's not that I'm not saying that what I'm saying is all 100% true. I'm just simply telling you that I'm not the only person that's putting this together and that sees it for what it is. And there are multiple races of people, all walks of life, that know this information, but we're considered to be the outcasts and the ones who are quote unquote conspiracy theorists. And then we don't look at reality the same as the indoctrinated people, because they're walking around walking dead. We're dealing with walking dead people, brain dead, emotionally tied into the grid, to the system, and they can't get past it because they're NPCs. They're going to be that way. And I do have occasional NPCs that leave comments on my page and stuff like that. I just delete them because I already know, based on the way their tone is and how they're talking, they're not on that level of understanding, and they won't be able to get that way because of the way they're approaching the subject, right? If you really want to learn something and deep dive into a topic, you're going to have a level of respect and understanding coming to a person humbly, right? Asking them for information. And so I find that depending on how a person approaches the subject, approaches me, I can already tell off the bat within 30 seconds whether, this is going to be a bust, or are they really going to take it seriously and really try to study. you know, at some point, like I said, I am going to get into the Meta-Netters and the lost teachings of Atlantis. We're going to start that here soon. I had to take a break because of the death in my family, and I'm back, and I appreciate all of your prayers and all of your support. I don't know how long I've been on here. I know I've been on the video for a while, but I felt like it was important for me to cover again the resets, because this is where we're going to start off with. So we know we're on the 7th reset right now. We're the 7th humanity. The takeaway, the very first one were the Hyperboreans, the super, super dark ones. And they were brought into this realm or existence naturally through the 5 masters. Okay, we're going to cover that, but I'm just telling you. And then you've got all these different resets in between. And they've injected 1,000 years. Okay, we've got 6 civilizations that we're on top of right now here in the Americas. You walk outside, you drive around out in the country, out in the cities, you can see the cathedrals, you can see the buildings, and you can see that the architecture is different. And it's because how they merged the timelines during the resets. Okay. So that's the basis of this video for me to get through this part of the book. We don't have that much more to go on Taylor's book. When I come back, maybe either later on tonight or tomorrow, we're going to finish this book up and we're done with it. Okay. And then what I want to piggyback into then is we're going to pick up the teachings of the Enoch, the book of Enoch and Jasher. We're going to deep dive into the Nephilim history. And then I'm going to pull up some articles online for you guys so you can see some of the pictures of the giants, the skeletons, what they looked like, the artifacts that were found around them, the mounds, because America is ground zero. And the Smithsonian dug up all of those bones, practically almost all of them. There's a few left, but they had the majority of them. Okay. And they took the history and they eliminated it. It's hidden, you know, and the Vatican has all this information. It's no secret. The Vatican is a repository of at least 5 to 10 miles long of all the history within the known lands under the control of the Anunnaki, the Custodians, the Nibirians, the Jovians, the Greys, the Edmonds of Dracos, even the Pleiadians. There's over 200 different alien species. They've come out, the U.S. government has come out and talked about 4 alien races: the Nordics, the Reptilians, the Manuses, and the Greys. They've already talked about them. They're doing disclosures. They're testifying in Congress in secured skiffs. All that stuff is being released. There's nothing new under the sun. So no one should ever have a thought, oh, extraterrestrial little green men are real. Yeah, they're real. Yeah, they've been here the whole time. And this is what we're dealing with. And this is why the world is the way it is. So you got to get your head out your ass. You got to get focused. You've got to ask for the knowledge and then be ready to receive it. But you've got to be ready to receive it. If you're not ready, then don't open that book. Don't take that walk. Don't do that drive. Don't go down the rabbit hole, because it won't end well for you. You'll go through a depressive state. And I'm just prefacing that because that's exactly what happened to me. And I don't want the same thing to happen to you, right? And I'm saying it in love. So anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing day. I'll come back. We're going to finish this last part of this book off, and then we're back on Enoch, Lost Teachings of Atlantis, Meta-Netters, and we may mix in a little bit of reptilian history in somewhere in between that, and talk about the parasites and how they affect you anally and how they affect you in your eye and how they do this stuff. Okay. If you're interested, I'm just saying, a lot of people ain't talking about it. All right. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Be the change you want to see all around this Earth Dome, because it's up to you now to make a positive change. Check out Claudio's stuff, Guy Anderson, Jamil Shamshi Dean, Taylor Durden, and let me know what you think. I did not mean to be long-winded. I always say that, but I am. Y'all know that. And I did not mean to be offensive to anyone with the cursing, especially with my light-skinned, quote-unquote, melanated brothers and sisters. Y'all know I don't say white. I don't do the Korean colors. I love y'all. It don't matter what color you are. I love you. You know, you could be a reptilian. I still love you. But when you get down to messing with children and eating babies and that type of shit, I'm not the one. You're a pedophile? No, absolutely not. Snatch your soul and send you back to the void. I'm just saying. So I can't be any other way. I'm being genuine on camera. This is who I am. This is me. You're seeing me in my full glory here. So I can't lie to you guys and say I'm something that I'm not. I live and breathe this stuff. This is me. And I'm doing this because it's within me. This is my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be here to tell you these things, and I'm supposed to be here to point you in some direction. But it's going to be up to you to do the work and to really stand fast and walk in your truth, because it's not easy. This is very, very difficult to do. And oftentimes I feel alone, literally alone on this walk, but I know that I'm not. I have my ancestors around me. I have the creator of all that lives within me, and I have you all as support. And I love you guys. We are eternally bonded, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, Mark, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.